And some of the
It's
things
okay
we're
to
going to
sleep
talk
there.
about
You're not
on
gonna sit
Friday
there.
night.
That's kind of important. Okay, so you want to call the meeting?
Call to order the meeting of the Parks and Rec Plan Committee. And I'd ask for a roll call.
Ms. Ross?
Here?
Mr. Godbout?
Here.
Mr. Ferry?
Here.
And Mr. Badoo?
Here.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Any public comments about this meeting? Okay. Any staff comments before we get going?
Nope.
Any discussion and action items? And actually, I'm gonna hesitate for a moment because actually I need the document Jenny's printing up. Anyway, well, thank you, by the way, for volunteering to be part of this committee. This,
You weren't on, you didn't do it last time, 5 years ago?
no, my last experience with doing plans was a master plan for actually Leelanau County, but that was when I was on the planning commission 14 years ago.
I guess, yeah, when I thought you had experience, I remember seeing your name on some documents from a while ago.
So you were on our planning
Thank you.
commission?
Yeah, I was on the county's planning
Oh,
commission,
good.
and we did the
Yeah,
master
yeah.
plan, but
Yeah.
like I said, it was a long time ago.
Oh, good.
And I went through the planner training, so I did have.
Oh, well, we're in good hands.
No, I don't know that you're in good hands, but you're in my hands anyway. All right, that's an extra one, okay. Anyway, what you have before you at this point is a timeline for actually creating the Parks and Rec plan for the 2025, 2029 timeframe, okay? I actually, as I've always done with these types of planning things, is I start at the end date and work backwards.
Okay.
So right now, we know we have to have it finished by December 10th, which is to be accepted and approved by the County Board of Commissioners. So that's our ultimate drop dead date.
Okay.
So I've got a step of December 4th approval of Parks and Rec Commission to send the plan to the approval of the County Board of Commissioners. Then December 2nd is the final revision and public hearing comments are incorporated in the plan. So back on November 6th, I've got an estimate for a public hearing to be held to review the plan with the public. October 2nd is the draft plan is complete and approved for the public hearing. Then September 4th, I've got revisions and updates to the general sections as submitted and for review. Essentially, when you look at our existing plan, there's two sections. There's the more general stuff, which doesn't talk about the individual parks, and then there's the individual park sections. And then there's the action items at the end, and there's the dollar values going into the CIP, and all that stuff is in there. So essentially for this, the revisions and updates to the general section will be completed by September 4th. The drafts of the individual park plans and their information is for August the 7th. And then this is our initial meeting. So we have a gap now between February 5th and August 7th about how we proceed and to get this done. Okay. My question to you is, I've only involved the public at the end. So a question that's in my mind is, at what point do we involve the publics? I know that Don they're currently updating the Miles Kimberly plan, which will actually roll into this.
Yep.
And you have a public hearing to that. So should each of the park committees plan a public hearing with their stakeholders? And we'll insert that into the timeline.
I think it'd be nice to be consistent,
Not a bad
wouldn't it?
idea.
Okay.
So, do they have an update just like we do at Veronica Valley?
Not as extensive.
Okay.
I would think, I mean, well, I haven't looked them up, to Dave or anybody about what Veronica Valley is, but I think their design and plans and projects are all pretty well laid out. They just need to, some they didn't get done, so they're gonna move them into the next plan cycle. Others that they've completed would drop out of the plan, so that would be their update. And we would have a similar update for all settlers. But the only one that's really got a major revision is Miles Kimberly.
So what's the date of like your Old Settlers Park? Is there a time frame of, like ours was up, so, or Miles Kimberly? Do you have a
No,
end
actually,
date? Or no?
actually, all of them are up.
So
They're
you, so you
all
do
up at
need-
the end of 2024.
Okay, so you all need to,
We all
We
need
all
to,
need to
we
do
need to do the overall plan for all of Parks and Rec this year for the 25-29 period. And Miles Kimberly is doing theirs because they had such major revisions to what they needed to do
okay.
or wanted to do.
Gotcha.
They're doing a separate plan, which really wasn't necessarily required other than to get a handle on what they really wanted to do. At least that's my understanding.
All right, well, we just, Steve was instrumental in recommending that, and we as a committee,
Yeah.
Cameron including,
Yeah.
decided that's a good idea.
I just thought they were all up for
So we're
major
working on that.
revisions, but that's not the case, so.
We're still waiting for the revision to come in from Gosling. When that comes in, hopefully we'll have it soon. I'm gonna give him a call later. And I was gonna have a public comment on it in March, but I have to delay that to April because I'm away. So
You
that's
can't
something.
leave us without, yeah.
Yeah, well, gotta get away from the snow.
Did you pick a date yet in April, or?
Yes, well, I have to go through the planning commission, and they don't give you a lot of feedback right away, so, I put that in
Okay,
a
it's not
couple of
firm,
weeks ago.
it's not confirmed yet,
I
though.
haven't heard yet, but I'm sure it'll be okay. Well, I'm hoping, I was hoping to talk to someone today about that.
Oh, you had to put your date to the planning department.
Right,
Okay.
exactly, planning department,
All
yeah.
right.
I said
Why are we
commission.
why are we involving the planning commission?
No,
Okay.
Yeah.
not planning commission, planning department.
All right. So what date did you give the planning department you want to do it on, do you know?
I think what is it, April 3rd is our next meeting? Hold on, I think I have it here.
And that was your public hearing date.
No, it's gonna be at the 2 o'clock before the 3 o'clock meeting.
Yeah,
on April 3rd.
April 3rd,
Is it
Wednesday at
April
2
3rd? Yeah.
PM.
And it's April 3rd.
Yeah, that's
I had a calendar, but I didn't bring it.
that's it.
It's in my big book. If April 3rd is our next meeting and for April 3rd,
If
2
your
o'clock.
plans aren't hugely revised, could we just do one? And all the parks are done at the same time? Or that's not usually done? A public comment period for all
Yeah.
3 parks?
Well, that is actually the ultimate, the one that was scheduled on November 6th, according to this timeline, is the overall completed plan going one last time to the public to get their comments.
So we're the only ones who are gonna do a separate one.
Well, that was why I asked the question, should
Yeah.
each of the committees do a separate one? Which means revise your plan, get it out to your stakeholders for that committee. Like I've got the Glen Lake Ladies Association, we've got several groups that, might want to have input into the plan. And then we have a public hearing about the Old Settlers Plan. And ultimately, if that gets, essentially approved by the Old Settlers Committee, it then gets rolled in for the final document.
Yeah, Miles Kimberly's on a little timeline here, because we have a budget, we're trying to stay under to Gosling to work on this, and we want to get it done, and it's got to go along and not linger. So that's why we're doing it, the way we're doing it. So I think that's a good thing. But the public input's important, but I looked at the one from this plan here, and like 12 people showed up,
That's all right.
19 people showed up. It's ridiculous. And that's for the whole thing, not just Miles Kimberly or some other park.
That's what I'm saying, if we just do combine, yeah.
Okay,
Well, a
well,
lot of the results are going to depend on how you advertise for those too.
Well, it was advertised in the Enterprise, it was posted online, it was posted, that's a good point. we're not gonna take out a TV to do it, so.
But again, let me understand, Charles, since you don't have major changes to your plan, can't you just,
It'll be mostly just an update of the information that's already in the existing plan.
but you have to do a public, you don't have to do a public,
You can just include it in the regular
that's what
committee
I'm,
meeting.
that's what I'm thinking, yeah, can't you, or?
Well, the process, going back to my days on the planning commission, when we
Okay.
put together a master plan, the process required a public hearing
I
and
think it
be
does,
be
yeah.
included in the process.
Well, yeah, but you do, I mean,
Right.
why, yeah, so,
But do we have each committee do a separate one first for their plan, or do we just have this one at the end?
Just one at the end.
I
Miles
was gonna
Kimmerly
say.
has to do this one anyway in April,
yeah.
because that's part of the contract to get it done and get it approved. And because we gotta move on, because we have to have the final thing that we agree to, the committee does.
Right.
And then we have to prioritize and get to
My
work.
assumption is each one of the park committees will essentially have an approval of their part of the plan,
Yeah,
which then
they
gets
should.
submitted for incorporation in the
And,
plan.
and we'll all be in the one in November.
Right.
You know, and Miles Kimmerly will be in that also.
Okay,
Sure.
so why don't we just make it, it's at the discretion of each committee as to whether they hold a separate public hearing for their part of the plan?
Sure.
That works.
That work?
I think so.
Okay. Again, this is just a draft timeline. If you want to review this and, give it, look it over and see if there's anything you want to add to it, or any of these dates which you think we're not allowing enough time for the activity, go ahead and do that. And then we'll get back and firm up the timeline for the next meeting.
Mhm.
I think
Okay.
it's enough time.
Sorry?
I'm good with the time frame on it.
Okay. Just give me any comments that you might have or anything you think should be changed. Next thing, resource to actually do the plan. Talked to Gail with the current staffing at planning, although I guess they're beating the bushes to add a planner. And I don't know if there's anybody else being added. I think they may need to augment their planning staff. We'll leave that to the people at powers that be. Right now I'm thinking that on Wednesday, we're going to need to make a motion before the total commission that we do a sole source contract with Gosling, Zubek, for the 2025-29 plan. And because they have the existing plan is in a non-editable document by anybody other than Gosling. And we don't really have a resource, if we got the plan in an editable format, we don't have anybody in a resource here to actually update the plan and be the administrator for it. At least that's my understanding. So my recommendation and the motion I would make is that we go ahead and ask the full Parks and Rec Commission to approve us going to the county board for a sole source contract with Gosling, Zubek, to do the Parks and Rec 2025-2029 plan.
As they did the previous one.
Now, does that meet the requirement of not having a bidding process? Does that go over that threshold, the cost?
That will be up to the Board of Commissioners to decide if the reasoning for why we're sole sourcing or need to sole
Right,
source
is above that
is
threshold.
acceptable. Is that correct, Melinda?
Would it be under $5,000?
Huh?
Would it be under $5,000?
No, it'll be
too?
somewhere in the range of probably $14,000-15,000.
Yeah, so we would ask for a no bid policy to be waived, the bid policy to be waived, because we have a relationship already established and they've got all of our
Right.
data.
Makes sense.
Yeah, like I say, I get it, as long as it doesn't create a rift with not following the bylaws per se of getting bids, so.
We do it once a meeting, just
Okay.
about.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, there
it's
is a
not our
process
preferred.
for getting approval for non-bid contracts. Now, Gail did mention that we could go to Gosling and have them say, how much do you want to give us the data in an editable format. Which they could say, well, okay, we want $5,000 to do it. They kind of hold us over a barrel, but we could do that. Get the editable data, but now we have to go through the process to find someone to actually do it.
But you also have it for future plans then.
Well, the contract I would want with Gosling, even if we sole source it, is the ultimate, the end product is we get the editable document. None of this, no, that we can't do anything with it. So-
That system is just gotta change. That's just so wrong, isn't it? Or is it me?
Oh, what's wrong?
I think it's
I
wrong.
agree.
You
It's
pay
wrong.
that high a price for something you don't even own.
Yeah.
You know, it's amazing, if we get the editable version, it seems like it would be easier to do in-house corrections of, oh, the address on this place changed. If you go through the current
Yeah.
5-year plan, there's so much updating to do. How somebody from the outside can come in and do that updating without working with the staff we have here seems, it'd be hard, it would seem to me anyway.
Planning commission goal. To get that, do that
So-
format.
Do I have a second for my motion that we would ask the Parks and Rec Commission to ask the Board of Commissioners to allow a sole source contract for this?
Yeah, I think so. I second.
And in that motion, I will specify that, and with an estimate amount of 15,000.
Do we know what last year's was?
Last time.
I asked Gail, Gail's been doing some research, but she didn't get it done before she left, so I really don't have the number. But that's,
So the contract you said is 15,000 is what we're asking?
well, I took Miles Kimberly's 4,700 and essentially tripled it.
As a good starting point, yeah, probably.
But that will be in the motion.
Huh?
You want that in the motion?
Well, the motion will be that, that we ask them for a sole source contract up to 15,000. I mean, if Gosling comes back and wants a lot more than that, then no. We'll
We
have
should be able to find out quickly
We'll have to figure out
what
something
we
else. to
paid
do.
for last year's, or 5 years, the previous plan.
Right.
I can look into that.
All right.
So this is every 5 years, right?
Every 5 years, yes.
So it seems like we need to make a change and not continue to, yeah.
Well, you can update a plan more frequently, but you must do it at least every 5 years.
Yeah, so knowing that we're gonna have to do this in perpetuity, right?
Right.
Getting out of this cycle of being,
And if we're going to try to get some grants, starting in 2025,
which we have to
we wouldn't get any grants because we have no plan.
totally get that, yeah.
So that should be part of the motion to the board, that we get an edible copy of
Right.
the report, so we can do it differently in the future. Or we can do a change, we can update it as we go along. 6 months, we gotta change something, somebody's phone number changed, somebody's, this department doesn't exist. Park and Rec belongs to the planning commission now, all sorts of things happen.
Okay. This is a question more than, the item on here is an assignment of action steps to each committee. I know that each committee needs to get their current plan, start looking at it, identifying changes that they need to make to the plan so that we can come in, sometime before this August 7th meeting with people having all their plans and all their information ready to go.
We have a motion on the floor, we have to do.
That's right. I got a motion on the floor for the proposed, to
Yeah,
get for the
second
sole
by
source.
Ross, so all we need is
Okay, so, I'm sorry, all of a sudden, off we go.
Further discussion?
All right, any further discussion? All in favor of the motion, say aye.
I,
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Got it.
All right. So is anything, any of you can think of that we should start doing now to get ready for the first thing of August 7th?
Keith had a nice suggestion, I think you should share with the whole group. I don't know if I agree with it, but I'm thinking about it.
Well, as far as the goals, the 5-year plan, I know that if you put a lot out there, it might look impressive on paper, but then you start looking at the scope of it, and it's like, wow, this thing is huge, and we're just not gonna get half of it done, so why expedite anything? But I look at it, because I've kind of done this stuff before, is that if you make it like 80% attainable, then you have that light at the end of the tunnel, so you work really hard to try and fulfill your goal, your 5-year plan. Sometimes if you really put a lot into a 5-year plan, if you don't get half of it done, then those that are looking at you are going, you guys made this big plan and you're getting nothing done. So I've always tried to make it where you're not gonna finish the whole plan, but you're gonna be like 85% complete. So that kind of looks good on your part. That's my 2 cents.
I hear that. But I also know that when we look at the existing plan,
Mm-hmm.
the thing that has always been stopping things from happening is funding. Okay? So we need to change that dynamic.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at the capital improvement plan for the next 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
that was approved recently, not too long ago, there's essentially no money in 2025,
Right.
or 2024. In fact, there was very little for parks in 2025. So we gotta have them out there, and we have to figure out how to get the funding. And there's numerous things we can do to that, which is a whole different topic.
Oh, yeah, there's grants out there and stuff.
Say, Melinda, question for you. Did they roll over the money from
Yes.
23 to
Yes.
24? They did. Oh, very good. Thank you.
Well, actually, that was a question for my Wednesday meeting, because I don't see it in the financials.
So we'll bring that up again,
It's-
for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah, thank you.
If it was approved, it should be showing up in our financials for our 2024 approved budget.
Is that gonna be a rules change that every year that'll happen, or we have to? No, I didn't think so. You'll work on that.
no, there was discussion that wasn't cool, and they wanted explanations, so, yeah, let's not let that happen again, put it that way.
Oh, really?
Oh, definitely, I mean, that was an exception, and I don't think we should rely on
Yeah.
that going forward, so.
I did talk to some companies that lay gravel down for ADA-approved walkways, and they're willing to charge bit by bit. So I don't think we'd have a problem spending that money. You know what I'm saying? So if, come towards the end of the season, if we have some capital left over, give them a call and say, give me another 300 foot, to walk right up to that threshold.
The only thing is that, at least for Miles Kimberly, I don't know about the other two parks, we have so much groundwork to do
Right.
before we can actually do anything, and that's gonna eat up
I mean,
a ton of money
Yeah.
right there, so.
there are projects that are in the $100,000, $200,000 range.
Oh, yeah.
Your piecemeal thing sounds good, but sometimes when you do it piecemeal, two things come up to my mind. It costs more because they have to bring the equipment in, and they have to go back, come back. The other thing is, we have this loop trail, 1 mile loop trail, we're gonna try to break it up maybe into 3 parts, which I support, but I have a problem with that in the sense we'll get one completed, and then it'll be so small, nobody uses it, so we wanna do the second edition, and somebody will say, well, nobody's using the first edition, so why put in the other? So if you don't build it to what you want to start, maybe you get a problem.
Yeah, I mean, like with our paths, we have the grass, we have some dirt, whatever. And again, to try to get to a certain point, to say around the fishing docks or something like that, that would give you an endpoint as far as ADA compliant trail. Then they do their thing and they come back. If you can pick a section that takes you somewhere, then brings you back, then that might be feasible.
Seems like it would be a good justification to the Board of Commissioners too, if you started a project, you've taken it this far, and then you go back in the next year and you ask for money to do that. If you spent that money, they're going, oh, they're serious about this, and then.
We like that.
Well, I'm trying to stay in contact with some government ADA people that I might be able to get a grant from. So that's,
I don't know, grants help.
that, yeah, like I said, it's gonna be a tough road because everybody wants ADA grants, so.
And in this county, we have a disadvantage.
Mhm.
Because of the wealth of the county,
Oh,
every
yeah.
one of the scoring formulas knocks us out of the park.
But if you've got connections to grants, yeah, bring it to
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
committee,
Yeah.
Miles, which one, you're on?
He's on
Veronica.
Veronica.
Yeah.
Yeah, bring it to the committee and.
Just like what Charles said, though, as soon as they look at, they go, oh, how come you guys just don't do it?
Actually, there's probably a negative score because we live in Leelanau.
Not always, not always.
All right, so anybody think of any other action steps we should start initiating immediately?
So we're kind of on a holding pattern though, until we decide how we're gonna go forward with a purely edible, or do we know for sure we won't be able to edit and make it the major
We know that the
changes?
planning department won't be able to do it in-house. Gail has told me that.
And we, as a committee, aren't gonna, if we get a version that we can make the changes to, isn't that what we're still in the,
No, we're not gonna, they
we're
don't have
definitely
that.
not gonna have that?
They don't have
Okay, okay, gotcha. You're
Further-
talking about the
that.
next.
A year later, yes.
Okay, gotcha.
The only thing that I would have would be our invasive species spraying from that Savin company, where they come out and do around
Yeah.
the pond and stuff. That would be the only thing that we'd want to look at right away, and make sure that's all ready to go when the time comes. Whenever spring gets here.
Okay.
It's coming already.
I don't do that.
Action
You're
steps,
right about
I'm talking about action steps
Okay.
your committee should do toward getting this plan put
Right.
together. Not necessarily the other things. that
But this
are
would be
part-
like a yearly thing that we're gonna, every year we'll have to have this treatment done, so that's gonna be part of our
Yeah, that's,
plan.
and that's part of the budgeting
Yeah.
process.
Okay.
Okay.
So Charlie, just to clarify, my understanding is we're going to envision for our park and with our needs list, things like that. But also each park is going to come up with our goals like this sheet would be. We'll come up with the goals and things like that. We'll work on them.
Right. And that's the thing, we need to, that's the whole information about for the individual
Right.
park that we have to have nailed down by this August 7th date. Okay?
It'll be,
Well, we'll be in good shape. Miles Kimberly will be in good shape.
yeah, we will.
And I think all settlers will be in good shape. And
I just had this problem thinking about paying Gosling to change some of the wording in the major part of the document.
Yeah.
We could do that, and we're paying.
They can't change
Again.
it without some in-house help.
if,
So that's why we have to negotiate a price and something realistic, I would think.
Charles, what's the software they use for that?
I have no idea. I thought it was like a Word document, but
Are-
it could be Publisher.
Even that,
Yeah.
That word is old.
we can do
Well, but if we don't have the right to.
But
they own it.
fill in the name of the "we." Okay, that's where I held up. If I knew that I was gonna have two more people in the planning department that could get this document and actually make all the changes in the document, that would be my proposal. But I've been told I don't have that and we won't have that. That's why I'm proceeding this way.
Well, we didn't have it before. We're all gonna make those changes in the document. We always had Gosling.
You always say Gosling, do it, yes. But again, this maybe is something that, the master plan for the whole county master plan is actually up for revision soon. I believe so.
None of us were involved with this plan here, but it amazes me that we have all this information, it's in-house information. How did they compile all that?
We gave it to them.
They did-
We spoon fed it to them.
It's the way a consultant works. You spoon feed them the data, they give it back to you.
And charge you.
That's what charge you.
We don't have to pay them $15,000
But we
to
do.
upgrade this.
That's the
No,
thing.
I don't think so.
that. That's crazy, because publisher is a little more difficult than.
So under
So your
other.
job is to figure this out, Charlie. We trust you will.
And don't use Miles Kimberly as an example. We probably spent too much just to take the plan, but maybe not. You have some good ideas. It was idea generating for them, but and they put it on paper, and they come back, and, you know, I don't know.
All right, so under other business, essentially, I mean, it's what, when do you think we need to meet again? For the next, to at least review where we are and going forward?
I just have one other thing. The pork barn. Is that, I mean, it's in that.
It should be
It
incorporated
is.
in the
Oh,
I'm
Miles
saying
Kimberly
we need to be
plan.
communicating with them to make sure that anything,
Well, they're Miles Kimberly stakeholder,
I do.
yeah.
so your
So-
communication is Miles Kimberly committee to
So,
the poor one.
so we'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Miles Kimberly-
Yeah, they are, it's all part of
Okay,
this.
just
I
wanna
think
make
that should
sure.
all be incorporated in the Miles Kimberly plan,
Okay.
because it's part of Miles Kimberly.
And 4-H too. Yeah, okay, so,
And they are your, that's, you know, that's those publics that I was thinking, you know,
yeah.
you need to
4-H's
resolve.
lease comes up, but somehow I would like to get them to stay and get involved and bring the horses back. I really would like to see the horses
Walking
walking.
around there, it's so
They should
cool.
do a county 4-H thing
Yeah, something we have to.
each year. Bring all the animals in, bring the kids in.
Well, they do.
But where they hold it?
Well, at the fairs and not
Yeah.
at Miles
They have an
Kimberly.
office right here.
There's no Leelanau County 4-H thing.
Well, there
By
is,
itself.
but, yeah, nothing at Miles Kimberly that I'm aware of.
And we've been
Other-
told more than once, they don't come there because we don't keep the park in good enough condition for them to have their horses there, which I don't know to buy or not to buy.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else anybody can think of that we should talk about before we adjourn?
So there's no action that any of us need to do other than what we do under our own committee, subcommittees.
At this point, based on this timeline, you should be focusing on your own committee's plan. I mean, take a look at the general sections, and if there's something you want to talk about or would like to see revised there, let's bring it up
To the whole.
to the full,
Parks
to
and Rec.
us, yeah,
Yeah.
no, not Parks and Rec, to this committee, so we can get it hashed out if there's something you want to change in the general plan part of it, the overall plan part. of it.
So when do we need to meet again?
Well, that was my question. When, should we go monthly? Should we go skip a couple months and let people work on this before we?
We wouldn't have to do anything before April.
Yeah, right.
We need to concentrate on that.
So at least,
I would say
Or other
skip.
parks.
Maybe 1 month, and then,
yeah, let's do that.
So we'll skip March and go to an April
April
meeting?
meeting, sounds good to me.
Now, one thing we should do is have consistency between the three large parks. Like on this plan here that's existing, the 20 to 24 one, they have goals and then proposed action. And I don't know if I think that's quite the way to set it up, but we should come up with some idea how we want to have a template for what are our action steps, what goals do we want to achieve. When I read this, I say, oh, this is.
Regrettably, my paradigm right now is the existing plan is the template.
Well, it could be. Unless
No,
we want to
to
change
me, it is the template.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's good. Oh, here,
I'm not gonna reinvent the wheel.
okay, well, so we have to have goals and then proposed actions. Okay.
Well, this year, we're just fulfilling the past goals, plus build on the next 5-year plan.
Right. I mean, you look at the last 5 years and you say, this was in the plan, we did it,
Mm-hmm,
move it from the plan or just change the thing to say we did it,
mm-hmm.
status it.
Or you can leave
Or
it out just because it's in the
Or we
plan.
really we don't think we need to do this anymore,
Right.
so remove that from the plan.
Right.
Exactly.
And here's some new things we think we should add to the plan. I mean,
Mhm.
that's what we should do. Okay,
Okay, so you want to set a date or a tentative date?
why don't we schedule it for the committee meeting date that occurs in April? And the planning department's gonna identify that date as far as I
Committee
know.
meeting
Well,
date.
April 3rd.
So like today, there's 3 different meetings.
Mm-hmm.
April 3rd is the next one.
Well, it's Monday. April
Well,
3rd, we have the
April-
public
We have a
showing.
Miles Kimberly Park.
2
That's our-
o'clock, yeah, I've asked for the 2 o'clock time.
So-
Right, so do we do it on April 1st, which is the Monday before the Wednesday meeting?
I don't know, it's April Fool's Day, Charlie. You're-
That's okay, I have no problem doing it on April. Or do we go a week after? Right now, the planning department's gonna wanna come up with a date. And right now, it's the Monday before the Wednesday.
That sounds good.
So we should plan on an April 1st. Let's plan on an April 1st meeting,
Tentatively,
tentatively.
to see if the room's ready.
You know, I think the Monday before the Wednesday all the time is kind of nice. It gives us 48 hours to, you know, fill in some blanks before the regular commission meeting.
Okay.
So why don't we go ahead
Tentative
and
number.
pencil in April 1st as we can.
At what time?
Well, let's try for a 2 o'clock.
Gonna try to
What's
get
this
you a
section
more
called?
realistic number.
The plan committee?
This is called the Parks and Rec Plan Committee, Parks and Recreation Plan Committee. If you don't like my name, change it.
I love your name.
No, the more we change, the more trouble we get
All right,
into.
we're actually at public comments, Melinda. You got something you want to comment on? Okay.
What'd she say?
And any staff comments, Lori? Okay. Any member comments before we wrap up?
This is gonna be, I think, fairly straightforward.
Yeah,
I would love to, personally, I would love to dig into the plan myself, you know what I mean? As members and then edit like crazy and, yeah. It just,
Now, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
second.
We are adjourned.
Off the record,
Off the record.
because I don't want to worry about for you. Jim, I think you got the right idea. Let's think long and hard about just handing Gosling's a big 15 grand, because if you,
yeah, too
with
much.
that motion, they're not gonna come in any less
Yeah.
than that.
Good
So
point.
we probably.
Well, I don't have
I'm
to
gonna
put
get
I
him
don't
the
have to put a
number.
dollar amount in the motion.
I'm gonna go with that.
Well,
I'll pull it out.
I mean, it's all-